I've been scratching again. Same place as before, between the shoulder blades and along my lower back. It doesn't hurt, it just itches. Deep, like it's beneath the muscle. I thought it was a reaction to the mold growing in the vents. This place is damp, rotten in places. But when I stripped off my shirt and checked in the mirror, it wasn't a rash. It looked like little punctures. 3 of them, symmetrical, slightly raised. The skin around them is pale and thin, almost like paper. And there's a sound, too. Not outside, not quite inside either. It's like my bones are vibrating. I can't be sure if I'm hearing it or feeling it. I'm not even sure how long I've been here anymore. The outpost clock is stuck at 0247. The external solar panels aren't receiving anything. I've seen clouds, but no sun. The mission was supposed to be simple. Investigate loss of signal from Research Outpost 47. Confirm cause. Retrieve logs. 2 days in, 1 day out. That was 11 days ago, I think. When I first arrived, the place was silent. Doors sealed, emergency lights flickering. There were no corpses, no blood, no signs of struggle. But there were clothes, shirts still tucked into belts, boots with socks inside, mugs still warm on desks. The people here didn't run, they just stopped being here. And the walls, God, the walls weren't concrete anymore. They looked porous, white. At first, I thought it was mineral buildup, salt maybe, but when I chipped off a piece, it felt wrong. Dry like bone, but flexible and hollow. It flaked into layers, filaments like silk or cartilage in the cracks. It wasn't growing on the wall. It was the wall now. It was spreading into everything. I tried the radio, the uplink, nothing. That first night I stayed in the equipment bay, small, dry, closest to the exit. I locked the hatch, placed a seal on the inside, woke up with the hatch open and the seal intact, like something knew how to move around it. I started journaling after that, but my pages kept going missing. At first I blamed myself, misplacing things, fatigue, but they weren't just gone, they were eaten. Edges frayed, corners dissolved like acid had touched them. Sometimes I found them shredded in little piles, like nest material. That's when the buzzing started. It's faint during the day, almost rhythmic, like wind through hollow stone. But at night, it changes, gets sharper, tighter. It pulses in time with my heartbeat. I cover my ears, but it's not in my ears. I think it's in my spine. I've been drinking less, not because I want to, but because the water tastes wrong, like it's been altered, filtered through something else, sweet and metallic. I keep finding that same taste in the back of my throat when I wake up. I think they're feeding me. It's faint during the day, almost rhythmic, like wind through hollow stone. But at night, it changes, gets sharper, tighter. It pulses in time with my heartbeat. I cover my ears, but it's not in my ears. I think it's in my spine. I've been drinking less, not because I want to, but because the water tastes wrong, like it's been altered, filtered through something else, sweet and metallic. I keep finding that same taste in the back of my throat when I wake up. I think they're feeding me. There's movement in the ducts now. I heard it last night while trying to sleep. Scraping, clicking, like small claws dragging along metal. I stayed silent, didn't move. It moved past slowly, paused near the vent above my bunk, then kept going. I don't know what it was, but it knew I was there, and it didn't care. I checked my back again this morning. There are more punctures now, 6 in total. They're arranged in a line, curved slightly, like a design. They're not random, and they're getting deeper. There's something under the skin now. When I press around them, I feel a crunch, like paper folding in on itself, or shell. I've tried leaving 3 times now. First time, the jungle was wrong. The trees were all dead, just brittle stalks covered in white husk. No birds, no wind, just a low thrum in the distance. And then I found myself back at the outpost's north door without realizing I'd turned around. Second time, my legs gave out after 20 minutes. No strength. Felt like something in my blood was pulling me back. Third time, I made it to the landing zone, and the pod was gone. I'm not just stuck here. I'm being kept. I haven't moved since I got back from the landing zone. That was 6 hours ago, maybe more. I just sat by the hatch with the door open, staring out into the fog. It doesn't feel like weather. It's too still, doesn't drift, just hangs there like insulation. When I stood up again, my boots had left no prints in the dirt, like the ground had closed over them. I started sweeping the outpost again, section by section. At first I thought I was just stalling, that if I kept busy, I wouldn't have to think about what's happening. But I've been noticing things I didn't see before. In the northwest wing, the old communications array, I found a patch of wall that looked melted, like the concrete had softened and slumped but stopped halfway. There were holes in it, dozens, shallow at first but narrowing deeper into the surface, tight spirals like insect tunnels. Some still had husks in them. Not bugs, not exactly. Something dry, brittle, with chitin plates like folded parchment. And they weren't dead, just abandoned. A chair was fused into the floor nearby, not bolted, not fallen, fused, like the legs had sunk into resin and hardened there. There was still a uniform draped across it, foundation issue. No body inside, just fragments in the collar lining, a few teeth in the dust under the seat. Everything else, skin, tissue, bone, gone, dissolved, or used. I moved to the labs next. That's where I found the first real sign that someone fought back. Scorch marks along the wall, a pile of broken glass, a data pad fused into a chunk of resin, half its screen still glowing. I had to dig it out, burn my gloves in the process. Only one file was recoverable, a half-written field log, time-stamped 12 days before I arrived. All it said was, "We thought it was a nest. It wasn't. The building is the nest." That's when I started really looking at the structure. The junction walls between corridors aren't straight anymore. They bow slightly, concave like the inside of a throat. Piping is warped, bent at angles too clean for accident, too organic for design. And the floor tiles, what's left of them, have been overgrown with a pale network of struts, thin at first, then thickening into ribs. At the intersection near hydroponics, the ceiling sags down into a dome, not collapsed, reshaped. The center of it has a ring of holes, not random, symmetrical, 6 in total, equidistant, like a vent or a brood chamber. I opened one of the old personnel lockers. There was a jumpsuit hanging inside, intact, dry. In one of the pockets, a folded piece of paper. It said, "Don't sleep near the walls." That was it. No name, no date, just that. Back in the kitchen area, there's a dry storage unit built into the floor. I pried it open, thinking it might hold emergency food. It didn't. It was lined with the same resin I found in the walls, pale, chalky, with something underneath it. I scraped a section off. Beneath it was a hand. Human. Preserved. Embedded like fossil in sediment. Still wearing a ring. I haven't gone into the lower levels yet. I passed the stairwell 3 times. Each time I heard something below. Not movement. Not breathing. Something dry. A rustling. Like molting. And a soft clicking every few seconds. Not random. Rhythmic. Like a signal waiting for acknowledgement. I think the others made it down there. Whatever was left of them, it's still here, just not in the way we'd recognize. Not bodies, not minds, but around me, somehow. The worst part isn't the silence. It's the fact that the building is never quiet. It hums, just under the threshold of hearing. A sound that isn't sound, like the walls are breathing in sync with me. Or I'm breathing in sync with them. I don't know why I went down there. There was no emergency, no power failure, no protocol. I just got up, walked to the service stairwell, and started descending. Didn't think about it. Didn't hesitate. Halfway down, I realized I wasn't carrying a weapon. Didn't go back for one either. The smell hit me first. Rot, wet earth, something chemical, like vinegar and meat. The resin grows thicker down there, in patches, veins of it along the walls, the floor, the air ducts. But this resin is different. It's darker now, drier, brittle on the outside, but soft if you press too hard. The first room I checked used to be storage. The lights barely worked. They flickered like something breathing. There were 4 containment crates, all unsealed, all empty. 2 of them had been scorched maybe, or melted. The floor beneath them was warped, like something hot had been sitting there too long. But there were no signs of the things that made them hot. Only fragments. A cracked helmet visor, a crushed communicator, a length of spine, clean, white, and empty. No marrow. That's what I noticed. The bones weren't broken. They were drained, polished from the inside out. I kept walking. My breathing was getting harder by then, shallow, like I wasn't pulling in enough air. The walls looked wrong in the corners of my eyes, like they were moving slightly, flexing, and I couldn't stop swallowing. My mouth kept filling with saliva, thick, sticky. I thought I was just panicking. Now I'm not so sure. The second room had a cot still set up. Foundation issue, labeled Dr. V. Tamura. There was nothing on it, just a pile of pale flakes, like dandruff or shed skin, and underneath that, a rib cage, cracked down the middle, cleaned, hollow. Inside it, nestled gently between the bones, was a nest. Soft, white, shaped like a pouch, lined with something that looked like silk but thicker. It pulsed, just once, then stilled. There was no sign of the rest of her, not even a skull. Just the bones needed to house something, not supported, not protected, just to hold it in place while it grew. I felt something behind my right ear, a pressure, like a bug bite that wouldn't settle. When I scratched it, something peeled, not skin, a flake, dry, white. I pocketed it without thinking, didn't want to see it again, still haven't looked. At the end of the hall was a sealed door marked Research Cold Storage. It had been broken open from the inside. The door itself had been bent outward, not melted, not unlocked, bent. I stepped over it and into the dark. The smell was unbearable, sweet, sharp, like syrup poured over meat that had gone bad. The resin was thickest here, webbed across the walls, puddled in the corners. It hadn't overtaken everything. It avoided certain spots, like it had grown around things it didn't want to disturb. I shined my light into one of the corners, found a corpse. No, not a corpse, not really. It had been human, a man maybe, still in uniform, still wearing boots, but the chest was gone, hollowed clean. The ribs were cracked open like a flower in bloom. Inside, a cavity, smooth, dry, white, shaped to cradle something, small, insectoid, empty now. They don't just kill, they don't feed, they plant. I counted 6 more, some half buried in resin, others carefully laid out, arranged, preserved. They weren't dumped, they were positioned like brood chambers, each one hollow, each one used. I didn't scream, not then, but when I turned to leave, I felt a warmth in my throat, a rising pressure. I coughed once, hard. Something came up. I thought it was phlegm, but it hit the floor with a soft click, a white nub, hollow. I didn't pick it up. They're out. I don't know how long I've been unconscious, but the lower level hatch is open. The weld's been split from the inside. The resin peeled, curled back like it was never welded shut at all, like it was waiting. The corridor's covered now, not dust, not webbing, shell fragments, hollow, dry, translucent, like something sloughed off a second skin and moved on. I stepped on one and it cracked like an eggshell. Inside, empty, but warm. I saw one just now. No fog, no obstruction, no more hiding. It was crouched in the ceiling rafters, half folded into itself, limbs too long for its torso, bent at the wrong joints. Its head twitched when it saw the light. No eyes, no mouth, just plates. But it turned toward me like it could smell me. And then it screamed. Not out loud. The sound came through the walls, like the resin was part of its throat. Every surface vibrated. And then I heard more that I could count. The sound came from all directions, below, behind, inside, They were calling to each other, calling to me. I ran, didn't think, didn't check the stairwell, just bolted the upper door and ran for the comms room. And when I passed the mirror in the hallway, just for a second, I saw my reflection. My eyes are wrong. There's a film over them, thin, pale. My pupils don't dilate anymore. They just flicker. I think I was the last egg, the last host, and now I'm done. They've left me behind like the others. They're climbing the walls now. I can hear them in the ventilation ducts, skittering in unison. They're not hunting, they're leaving. This is a warning to any Foundation recovery team that receives this transmission. This is not a containment breach. This is colony maturity. SCP-439 is active. The brood has hatched. And I repeat, they are leaving the hive. They have no interest in me anymore. They're seeking new structures, new chambers, new bodies. This is Agent Eli Herrera. Final designation, incubation host, SCP-439. Do not send anyone else. Don't try to understand it. Just contain it, or let it die with me.